This man is county official Robert Tellez, on his way to violently murder a journalist in a desperate attempt to prevent his dark, dirty secrets from being revealed to the public. Little does he know, it's only a matter of time before his own victim helps put him behind bars from beyond the grave. Because Tellez's horrific secrets go far deeper than anyone realized.
He just won't leave us alone. He had too much to drink tonight, and it's just, me and my kids are scared.
It's narcissistic and crazy.
Are those the words you would use to describe Robert Tellez?
Yeah.
Cameras are on. Cameras, can anybody tell me who I hit? Who the hell did I hit?
And it would be the smallest little thing that would set him off.
It was January 2019 when 45-year-old attorney Robert Tellez took on the role of Clark County's public administrator. Clark County, Nevada, home to Las Vegas and Henderson, is the 11th most populous county in the United States, giving its elected officials immense power compared to that of other places. From the get-go, it seemed that Robert relished that power. Immediately upon his arrival in office, he called Rita Reid, his second-in-command, in for a meeting. Rita had worked at the office in her role as a supervisor for over 12 years and was relied on by the employees as a pillar of familiarity and strength. According to Rita, Robert didn't see it that way. He reportedly ordered Rita to look into his eyes and told her, "Let's rip off the bandage now. You no longer supervise anyone. No one reports to you. They all report to me." And things in the office only got worse from there.
He was a horrible human being. Monster is the right word.
These four women, all employees of Robert, have gone on record explaining the behavior Robert displayed that made their work environment a living hell. They all claim that they were ordered not to speak to one another. Likely, this was an attempt by Robert to keep his employees isolated, and as a result, fully under his control. If employees were caught speaking to one another, they would be reprimanded. On one occasion, an employee claimed that Robert cornered her, pushing her up against a wall and telling her that she was going to die alone. Another stated that things got so terrifying and everyone felt so helpless with Robert as their boss that she contemplated taking her own life in the office so that officials would take their complaints about his behavior seriously. Janelle Lee, who started working at the office in late 2020, recalls what one of her coworkers said to her when she tried engaging in civil small talk.
Can't talk, we're not allowed to talk, I'll get in trouble, please don't talk to me.
There was one person at the office, however, who was allowed to do as she pleased, for an unsurprising reason. Very quickly, employees began to notice that Roberta, one of Robert's subordinates, was receiving special treatment. When confronted about his preferential treatment being unprofessional, Robert's response wasn't exactly what you'd expect from a person meant to be a leader.
That he had the right to have favorites in the office if he wanted.
Suspecting that Robert, who was married with 3 kids, was having an affair, employees began to pay closer attention. Almost every day, Robert and Roberta would leave the office at the same time. One day, their suspicions got the best of them. A group of employees followed the pair out of work and were surprised to see them turn into an isolated parking lot garage. The two parked on a level directly next to one another, and as the group of employees watched, their superior, a county elected official, got into the back seat of a car with one of his subordinates. After several minutes, the two emerged, with Roberta straightening out her dress and Robert smoothing his clothing. After several more days following the pair and confirming their suspicions, employees had enough. In March of 2022, an employee, Alicia Goodwin, reached out to Jeff Gehrman with her story. Just 6 months later, he would be stabbed to death by the very man he was invited to investigate. But according to everyone in Jeff's office at the Las Vegas Review-Journal, he was the type of man who wouldn't regret the decision he made. The terrified employees working under Robert were relieved to have someone on their side.
That concretely put their name on the line to try to do something.
That listened to us.
Was Jeff Gehrman?
Was Jeff.
Truly, they couldn't have asked for anyone better to fight for them. A reporter for well over 30 years, Jeff was known for his dedication to truth-seeking, even at the risk of his own life. In the early 2000s, he covered stories about the Chicago mob and their role in the corruption of Las Vegas nightlife. He had his tires slashed, his life threatened, and he still pressed on covering the stories until several members of the mob were run out of town. At one point, he even cornered a mob member in a bar, ordering him to call off his dogs. In response, he was punched in the face and needed 4 stitches for a gash on his chin. In other words, taking on someone like Robert wasn't something that scared Jeff. He had fried bigger fish in the past. But he had no idea just how twisted the mind of his last subject was. Yet, he sat in the same room as him more than once. This photo is from a meeting and interview that Jeff and his team at the Review-Journal conducted at the Public Administration Office. An interview that ended in publishing of this article on May 16th, 2022. This article did not sit well with Robert Tellis. In it, Jeff not only exposed Robert's toxic treatment of his employees, but his potentially inappropriate relationship with Roberta. Of course, when confronted, Robert and Roberta both denied that they were having a romantic relationship of any kind. In the article, Jeff detailed his interviews with both Robert and Roberta, writing, "I think it's horrible that they recorded this, and they're trying to destroy my life and my marriage when I'm actually infinitely in love with my wife," Tellis said. "I was just trying to get things off my chest with somebody who understands, and now it's being framed as though I'm cheating on my wife." Lee Kennett added, "I've not had an inappropriate relationship with him. I would not be friends with a man who thinks he's going to have an inappropriate relationship with me." When asked why the duo didn't go to lunch or somewhere else less secretive to privately discuss work, Lee Kennett said, "They can't do that without someone in the office making assumptions about them." She said she suggested going into the back seat of the car because she wanted to make sure Tellis would listen to her concerns, face to face. Tellis said the meeting location, which is across the street from the Clark County Government Center on South Grand Central Parkway, probably was chosen out of paranoia because of the discord in the office. Naturally, people who read the article were appalled, but perhaps no one was more appalled than Robert and Roberta, who both claimed that the article was a terrible thing to publish and an attack on their lives. It's worth noting that both parties were married, which is likely why whispers of an affair were so threatening for them. But Jeff didn't stop digging there, and there was much, much more to find. In 2012, while serving as the president of the student bar at UNLV's Boyd Law School, Robert was fired from his position due to inappropriate conduct. Allegedly, he'd been seen at a party touching a freshman law student and had multiple other complaints lodged against him for toxic behavior. That behavior, Jeff alleged, didn't stop there. Because in 2020, while Robert was serving as an elected official, his wife, the mother of his 3 children, placed this call to the police.
He just won't leave us alone. He had too much to drink tonight, and it's just, me and my kids are scared.
When police arrived at the well-manicured home, they found Robert wildly intoxicated. His wife had reportedly been battered, and when he was confronted about this, he began to resist arrest.
I'm not trying to breathe, I'm not trying to breathe.
The family's in there. Don't do anything more stupid than you've already done, please.
Oh my God, what the hell am I?
Our cameras are on.
Cameras, can anybody tell me who I hit? Who the hell did I hit?
Hold them while I double
Who did I hit? Because I didn't hit anybody. Who did I hit? Who did I hit? Because I didn't hit anybody. This is totally you guys just want to take me down because I'm a public official.
No, we
Who
don't.
Did I hit? I didn't hit anybody. I didn't touch anybody. You guys just want to take me down because I am a public official. Why do you have any suspicious?
Sit back.
Fortunately for Robert, this event flew completely under the radar for the public and media until Jeff uncovered it. The battery charges were dismissed, and rather than having to serve any time, Robert was simply forced to take what Nevada refers to as corrective thinking classes. After battering his wife and resisting arrest, Robert was able to return to his public office as if nothing had happened. Armed with this new information, Jeff published 3 more stories about Robert's past and his problematic behavior towards his employees. With the publishing of each article, the public's perception of Robert plummeted. At the time, Robert was running for re-election, set to begin another term in January of 2023. Instead, Rita Reid won. It's no surprise that Robert blamed Jeff Garriman for this loss. In both private and public, he was outspoken about his anger. He posted multiple tweets attacking Jeff, calling him a one-trick pony, and alleging that he was lying. In that tweet, Robert jokes about Jeff's fourth story about him. Sadly, a fourth story never got published. Shortly before September 3rd, 2022, Robert got an email requesting all of his correspondence with Roberta. Because of their role as public officials, the Freedom of Information Act, or FOIA, allows people to request this information. These emails, however, were never publicly shared. Because around 10:30 a.m. on September 3rd, 2022, dispatch received a concerning call.
911 emergency for BL 11965. Do you need police, fire, medical?
I have a neighbor across the street from me, and he's laying in the side yard. I believe he's dead. He's got blood over him.
When law enforcement arrived, they discovered 69-year-old Jeff Garriman dead, curled up behind the bushes in his side yard. He was covered in blood, having sustained 4 stab wounds to the neck and another 3 to the torso. He had been killed around 24 hours prior. Fortunately, an autopsy confirmed that he likely died within 1 to 2 minutes after he sustained his wounds. Thanks to surveillance cameras, detectives knew exactly how and when he sustained them. In this footage, you can see the culprit lying in wait. As Jeff rounds the corner to his gate, there's a scuffle. In that scuffle, Jeff was stabbed those 7 times. Further footage review revealed more clear pictures of the perpetrator of this heinous crime. Detectives could trace his path through the streets past multiple homes. He's wearing a long-sleeve orange shirt and a straw hat that's popular with construction workers in the area in order to protect themselves from the hot desert sun. After stabbing Jeff, the suspect runs away, but not before doubling back, likely to ensure that Jeff was dead. The community and Jeff's co-workers were in utter shock. They filled his desk with cards detailing their memories of him. But because his co-workers were journalists, mourning wasn't the only thing on their mind. They wanted to figure out who had done this. But Jeff's past exposing criminals made that easier said than done.
Just how big a list of people might have wanted Jeff dead?
That's a line of people that runs from here to Los Angeles.
His coworkers put together a list of people who had made public threats against Jeff Garriman. At the very top of that list was Robert Tellis. And as more information of the crime came forward, the more it looked like he was the culprit.
Metro Police are asking for the public's help. They're saying this is the suspect.
Jeff's coworkers at the Review Journal compared the gait of the culprit with that of Robert, using footage from Jeff's interview with him. To them, it was an obvious match. Then, the news of the vehicle involved in the crime came to light. This distinct maroon Yukon was traced to the known killer on the day of the murder. When Jeff's coworkers looked at the Google Street View of Robert's home, they had a match. Roberta, who was anxiously watching the news, even texted Robert, pointing out that his car was an exact match and warning him to stay home. Law enforcement moved in on Robert, taking him in for questioning while they conducted a search of his home. Inside, they found some shocking, damning evidence. Evidence that suggests Robert was so sure he would never get caught that he didn't even bother to dispose of it. In a toolbox in his garage, detectives uncovered a plastic bag. Inside was a straw hat sliced into several pieces. The hat was a perfect match for the one worn by the suspect in the video. Then there were the shoes. One pair with visible blood on them, and another that had been sliced into pieces and shoved underneath the couch. In addition, law enforcement pulled the car from the property for evidence. At the station, Robert's DNA was taken via a buccal swab to be compared to the DNA found underneath Jeff's fingernails. At the time of his interrogation, detectives didn't have enough conclusive evidence to hold him. They took his clothes and sent him home, forcing him to deal with the barrage of interviewers waiting around his garage. He stormed inside without a word. But it wouldn't be long before the world got another peek behind the door. Soon after, detectives learned that the DNA was a match. With the hat, shoes, and DNA, they finally had enough for a conclusive arrest. Law enforcement swarmed the home and knocked on the door, demanding that Robert come down. But Robert refused. Via a phone call, they learned some distressing news.
Based on the 405 comments, we're going to go ahead and make the official request for swag.
405 comments are comments relating to self-harm. Whatever Robert said on the phone led officers to believe that he was going to harm himself, meaning they had to act fast. Drones were sent in to assess the situation.
Soon after that, the drone came in, flew into that bedroom, and identified Mr. Tellis in the bathtub.
Okay, so he's in the bathtub according to the visuals that you got?
Yes.
Okay, so what happens next?
It was relayed to us as the drone flew in. And again, the robots have the ability to establish communications with the person. They relayed to us over the radio that Mr. Tellis had appeared to drop a knife outside of the bathtub, meaning that he was potentially unarmed at that point. They identified that he was covered in blood and potentially had some self-inflicted wounds on him.
Do you and your team make your way up the stairs to the bathroom?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. When you reach the bathroom, what do you see and what do you do at that point?
I was the first person in the bathroom operating the shield. We established verbal communication with him, told him, "Let me see your hands." He made some gesture like he said, if he did have a weapon, I believe I said, drop the knife or drop whatever you may have. He made some gesture that it was outside of the bathtub. I could definitively clear his hands at that point, which we proceeded forward to remove him from the bathtub.
Okay. Are you successful in removing him from the bathtub?
Yes.
Once removed from the bathtub, do you provide any sort of immediate assistance medically to Mr. Tellis?
Yes, we extracted him from the bathtub and pulled him out into the main floor space of the master bedroom so we could at least start to render some medical aid.
Robert was taken out of the home on a stretcher with what were later described as superficial wounds. Despite being in custody, the journey for justice for Jeff was far from over. At trial, Robert maintained that he hadn't killed Jeff. To this day, his explanation for his DNA being beneath his fingernails and the items of clothing behind his house are as follows.
I need to say that I'm innocent and that I was framed.
Unsurprisingly, due to the overwhelming evidence, Robert was found guilty of murdering Jeff Gehrman, a beloved journalist, friend, and colleague. Robert's attempt to preserve what was left of his image did the exact opposite. It showed everyone exactly what kind of monster he was.